right, welcome to the Vision Podcast. Today we're going to be going over a couple different things. Bitcoin, I'm going to give you just a simplistic layman's explanation of it for all those who I've tried to talk to and continue to talk to. And it's a complex subject, so the times that we've talked about it, there's times where I'm still figuring it out. So it's not as if I have everything dialed in on what Bitcoin is exactly, like to a T. I mean, if you read the white paper, I'm gonna read you a summary, not even that, a couple lines out of it. You'll be realizing this is like for computer programmers and, people that know how to write code and things like that, kinda. And it's extremely complicated. At the same time, it doesn't need to be so complicated for you and I and what we use it for. So we're going to use Michael Saylor as our visionary, as the person that we put into perspective so that you guys are getting an idea when we talked about doing, purpose plus pursuit equals vision. This guy is the one who has a vision in the space. I don't want to say it's better than anybody in the space, but it's pretty much, he's the top-notch guy, primarily because how he buys Bitcoin. And his conviction on Bitcoin, but he's also an MIT graduate, so he's a very intelligent guy, and he can explain it, wrap his head around it, and it's not very simplistic even in his explanations. I'll link a couple of his videos in the description down here, but he's got to be our flagship guy when it comes to how much conviction he has, because he's almost leveraged his whole company to buy Bitcoin. So he's kind of like our tip of the spear guy. So to begin though, what I want to explain right off the bat, and when you look at the thumbnail and the explanation, it's how to get rich with Bitcoin. That's to get your attention. That's to get you coming in and hopefully get some views on this thing. But there is a way to get rich with Bitcoin. And the primary thing is to hodl. Hold. HOLD is regular hold. Hodl, HODL, is a Bitcoin kind of term that we use, and you'll get it later, but it's believe it or not, it was from a guy who was drunk and he wrote an email back in 2013 and he misspelt it. He couldn't spell it right, and he's talking about his woes with Bitcoin and how his girlfriend's at a lesbian bar. This is the group of people you guys are popping on in with, by the way. So I'm excited to be a part of the group. I'm excited to be able to share this stuff with you guys and hopefully shed some light on the whole space. And absolutely, I mean, we have to be open and honest about this. We want to make money here. Otherwise, why don't we just go invest in some, philanthropic endeavor, and we can start taking Bitcoin to third world countries. Nobody's concerned about doing that right now, right? And at some point, yeah, we're going to, if things pan out right, we would love to give back, I'm sure, the majority of us. Although you do know my motto, cutthroat, steal shoes. I'm not really interested in giving back. So I'm just a very greedy individual who found something where I can make the most possible money. I don't want to say quick, and that's going to be part of the explanation. So let's skim into that. So the idea behind how to make money with Bitcoin is going to be to buy it and hold it. Buy it, hold it. Do not sell it. Do not buy it and imagine I'm going to sell this in a year to buy a house. You can do those things, but that's not going to be how you're going to make real cash, with Bitcoin. And by the time I'm done talking to you guys in this video and many others, you're not even going to want cash anymore. So let's go this way though. The Bitcoin white paper done by Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009. And he's a guy who actually went anonymous after creating this. It's a longer story, but today's just about a summary. It's also a time where I'm going to do this in layman's terms. I'm not going to try to get too in-depth for this particular video, because that's not what this whole channel is all about. I think with some of our long-form podcasts that we end up doing, we'll do that. But for right now, I just want to do a summary and hopefully keep you guys interested in some of these topics that we can add some vision to this topic, right? So the white paper, or the blueprint, or the summary of what it is this: Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It's just going to keep it real simple. Abstract. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. That's it. One more time. Purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution like a bank. Now, in the very end, just to give you an idea, this is a little in the conclusion, says, we've proposed a system for electronic transactions without relying on trust, like not to trust a third party, just me giving you something digitally from me to you, no third party. Nobody in between, no PayPal, no bank, no nothing, no Zelle, no third party in between. Just a way that I could just, if I saw you in person, I could just hand you the money or the gold or whatever it may be, or whatever we're trading, right? But if we're doing it digitally, we can't do that. We have to go through a third party, right? This does not do that. That's what Bitcoin is. No third party, I can give you something. So we've proposed a system for electronic transactions without relying on trust. We started with the usual framework of coins made from digital signatures. Super simple. It's what's transacted. That's the Bitcoin, right? And it's digital signature, which provides strong control of ownership, but is incomplete without a way to prevent double spending. So like, just like in anything else, or like a video game or something, once you get it, how do you, once you get an asset on digital, how do you put a signature on it, like a social security number almost, to where you can't do it again? You can't spend that same that same coin again. You can only do it one time. It has a digital signature so that it has like a social security number. That's not the best example, but the best way I can explain it, simple. So you can't spend it again without trading it, that is. To solve this, we propose a peer-to-peer network using proof of work to record a public history of transactions that quickly becomes computationally impractical for an attacker to change if honest nodes control a majority of CPU power. Starts getting confusing at the end. That's what you hear when you hear blockchain, right? Is we're doing proof of work, which is just showing all these transactions on a ledger. It's done in blocks. And each block, when it's complete, all the transactions, they go to another block. And it's just a chain of custody, or a chain of evidence, a ledger, an electronic ledger of all these transactions. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. That's all I'm going to explain for today. There's a lot more, a tremendous amount more to it. But it's just an electronic peer-to-peer system so that we can trade Bitcoins, which have a value now, right? Today's value, they're at about 46,000. And that's one coin. You can divide it up. You don't have to just buy one coin. I can trade you a Satoshi, which is a 1/10,000th, I believe, of a Bitcoin. So, or it's a 100,000th. It's like just a little tiny fraction of it. And you can use those to trade. All it means is it's divisible, it's fungible, not a big deal. So that's Bitcoin, right? Electronic payment system, peer-to-peer. Now let me just give you just a breakdown of what it is. Like, okay, that's the little white paper. Now let's just talk about it for just a moment, okay? All it is a ledger on the internet, right? Just like the internet is decentralized, for example, simplistically, the internet is around the world. There's no actual company that controls the internet as a whole. There's different servers, different companies that run the programming that allows you to access the internet, but there's no one company that controls the whole thing. So it's decentralized. And with Bitcoin, it's also decentralized, just the way the internet is. And that's where a lot of people get a little culty about it, because they're hoping that it'll like take over, money altogether. That's not going to happen, in my opinion, and we don't need to go there today. But if, for example, simple thing, let's say I knew somebody in India, I want to send them, $100. I could just literally send that to them on the Bitcoin network with no intermediary. So it's a ledger, right? It's just showing all those transactions, and it is worldwide. Bitcoin protocol is just software. An easy way to put it, so there's the Bitcoin protocol and then the Bitcoin as a measure of unit of account, right? So I'm sending you Bitcoins. Then there's the Bitcoin protocol, which is the software that runs the blockchain ledger, right? So the protocol, it's kind of like Microsoft Word. And again, this is layman stuff. Don't take me to task on this. It's just to give you a visual. When you run Microsoft Word, you're running a software protocol. You're running software on your computer. You could run this Bitcoin software on any computer anywhere, right? And what it does is it just validates transactions. You might be imagining, okay, it's validating transactions for what? Like, what's the point of that? Doesn't make any sense. That's all it does, guys. That's all it is. It's not, some type of crazy computer software that does all kinds of 3D renderings and all kinds of other weird things. It literally is just transactions. And that's very important though when you want to go digitally, right? So either way around, what happens is when you're running the Bitcoin software and you're running it around the world, it's also decentralized. So there's no one government or one company, there's no Bitcoin company that runs it. It's decentralized around the world. And there's, last I checked, and again, this is layman stuff, don't hold me to task on this. I think it's I don't know, I can't even remember. I think it's somewhere around 500 million computers. I don't know if anybody even measures it, but it's some astronomically high number that is running the Bitcoin protocol, which is why they can't stop it. So when you ever wonder to yourself, you know, is this ever going to go to zero? That was a big thing for the longest time. Is this ever going to go to zero? You know, no, absolutely not. Not anymore anyways. And the thing is, even if you were to ban it and shut it down in a country, which they somewhat did, mining, Bitcoin mining out in China, it just picks up and starts off somewhere else. You're still doing transactions in another company, another computers somewhere else around the world. So that's part of it. And a Bitcoin miner is simply a computer that is running the Bitcoin software. And by running the software, that computer generates rewards because it's just validating transactions. After so many validations, you get a reward. And again, this is super simplistic. It's way more complicated than that. But at the same time, with those miners, which again are just computers running the Bitcoin software, it's just validating transactions. And the whole world's validating these blocks so that it's a honest ledger. There's no third party, there's no bank that is validating the ledger. It is a decentralized worldwide ledger that is validated by all those computers validating the same transactions. So that's why it's so powerful in the sense that you can't manipulate it. So that's just a summary on Bitcoin, right? And there's a lot more to it. But if you're wondering, you know, why is Bitcoins, why are these unit of account Bitcoin, why is that at 44,000? Like, what's the deal? It's been around for 15 years. It used to be worth a small amount. I hear it goes up, it comes down, it crashes. It's like stocks. It's not like stocks other than there are charts that you can look at with candles that look like stocks. And so you relate it to a stock and you can purchase it with an expectation of it going up, which is similar to a security. It's not a security. But people relate it to stocks only because they don't understand stocks. Maybe you just don't understand how stocks work or stock investing works or stock trading works. And so you just see the same ticker, you see the same thing, it goes up, I can put some money in there, it might go up, then I can sell it and, you know, buy low, sell high. People think that when they first start looking into it, but the thing is, there's a tremendous amount of inconsistencies and differences between stocks and Bitcoin. But it does look similar in the sense that you see it trading all the time. People are on a decentralized ledger buying and selling with one another. So if I wanted to sell you a Bitcoin, if I had a whole Bitcoin today and I said, I want to sell this to you, it's $46,000. You would have to have an account, right, on, let's just say Coinbase. It's an exchange. You exchange money for Bitcoins. And if you had $46,000 in the account and you said, okay, Ruben, I'll take that Bitcoin for $46,000. What happens is that exchange happened. The trade happens. Now I give you the one Bitcoin, you give me $46,000. So the $46,000 is in my Coinbase account now, and you have one Bitcoin in your account now. So then if you fast forwarded a month from now, I would still have $46,000, right? USD, United States dollar. On the other account, I sold it to you, you're gonna have one Bitcoin that is worth whatever Bitcoin is worth in a month from now. And that's supply and demand. It depends on how many people are buying Bitcoin that want to buy it and how much they'll offer. Because it's trading at 46,000. Well, what if I offer you, I really want that Bitcoin. I'll give you 46,500 bucks. Oh, okay, boom. The demand is going up a little higher. Then if somebody's like, you know, I got to get rid of this shit. I'm losing my fucking ass. I got to get rid of this shit. I know it's worth 46,000. I see that on Coinbase is where you would identify the price because there's other exchanges, but they do track each other very well. Maybe you're losing your ass, right? You're going through a divorce, you crashed your car, some shit's hitting the fan, right? Got to pay the mortgage payment. I got to get rid of this Bitcoin. It's worth 46,000. I'm gonna sell that shit for 45,500 because I just got to get rid of it. Because I know if I discount it by 500 price, somebody's gonna buy it. That's how that works. Real supply and demand. That's all that is, right? So this is how the price goes up. Right now, the demand continues to go up, right? And supply is actually going to start reducing. Right now, we're still mining Bitcoins, but every 4 years it halves with the amount of coins that go into circulation. Explain more of that later. And so there's a limited supply. It doesn't just continue to print the way we print money. There's a limited supply of Bitcoin. And so as time goes on, you're going to have less and less and less supply. And there seems to be demand going on right now. We just had ETFs approved today. Yesterday. Today's January 11th, 2024. So it was trading today, which we all were kind of hoping it was going to go a little bit more parabolic. And it didn't, but it didn't sell off. A lot of people were thinking, oh, it's going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event here. And that didn't happen. So everybody's pretty happy right now seeing that there is a consensus between a lot of the investment firms and banks out there, Fidelity, BlackRock, ARK Investment, ARK Invest, these larger investment firms and not banks, but investment firms that are now offering these ETFs. It's kind of merging Wall Street and crypto trading, crypto ecosystem, because in those ecosystems, and we have to use Coinbase again, it trades on that exchange similar to the NASDAQ exchange. So there's some more similarities to stocks there. But see, these things that are trading are so different in reality of what they are. So if you have a security or a stock like Apple stock, that has a business, it's owned by Apple. They have shareholders, there's people there, they build and create things, and that's what bases the price, essentially. You have earnings calls, you have people that are actually doing the breakdown of what that company is worth. They're doing the analytics on it, versus on Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency is huge. I'm actually an Ethereum guy. I'm not a Bitcoin guy, although I mine Bitcoin. There's so many different cryptocurrencies out there that do things, but they're not businesses. So they're protocols, they're software. That's what's so interesting about it. It's just decentralized software, no business owners. There's some big names in cryptocurrency. Michael Saylor is one of them, but he has nothing to do with Bitcoin, right? Other than being an investor and somewhat of a promoter now. So there's a tremendous amount of differences in that versus when you go to Coinbase and you're looking at Bitcoin. What it is doing is it's literally just running the software protocol, versus Apple stock is a business that is owned and is creating iPhones and everything else. Way different, right? So you have, I'm going to term it this. Bitcoin would be a digital energy commodity. Digital energy commodity currency, I suppose you could say, because it is tradable and it's fungible and things like that. But it's primarily a digital commodity, energy commodity that is traded around and actually creates energy, in the sense that it's not, we can call it digital energy, but there's a sense that with the Bitcoin mining, this is where it can get a little complicated. I want to keep it as simple as possible. You have requirement. This is where we bridge analog, like the real world, with this digital ecosystem of Bitcoin. The miners are a physical computer, right? So the physical computer has to actually use electricity in order to run the protocol. And there's tons of these computers. They're called ASICs, application specific integrated circuit. I'm saying that because I'm trying to memorize it, not to try to be cool. By the way, just a friendly reminder here, I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about 98% of the time. Let's just say 100% of the time. So don't take any of the shit I'm saying serious right now. Take it and do your own research on this stuff. I try to simplify things and give you the layman's viewpoint so that maybe you can understand it. But this is not something where you want to come to me and think you know, or think I know what I'm talking about. That's the least thing I want you to think, is that I have any fucking clue what the hell I'm talking about at all. I just want you to come here, be entertained. And I'm slowly but surely building something up to where you guys are going to be able to come in person and actually experience some of the things that we are talking about and discussing on this channel. And so that's going to be a little different. And a lot of it is going to be rooted in the sarcasm that you see coming from me right now, and some of the shit talking, and some of the, I just had a long talk with someone today about cussing and how that's such an issue. And it's not a fucking issue. Okay, I'm going to say it again. It's not a fucking issue unless you make it an issue. If fuck, shit, and fucking gutter slut bothers you, okay, that's a little vulgar. Gutter slut's a little vulgar. So, but, things like damn it, or, shit, oh, go fuck yourself. Okay, that's a little vulgar too. But, you get pissed, fuck, you're choosing to be offended by those words. Again, if it's used vulgar, okay, I get it. But you're choosing to be offended by the word if I'm just saying shit, damn, And the idea behind this is we need to stop shrouding the truth with political correctness. And that's going to start by the tip of the spear, which is cuss words, because they're controlling people in general that are typically in positions of authority will control your language by saying, definitely don't say those cuss words. And there's going to be some more words you can't say either. And there's going to be some things you can't wear and some other things you can't talk about. You need to talk about that in private. And those cuss words are really offending people. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but what's going on is there's things that people are very politely talking about that are straight up evil. And that's way worse than just being offensive that people are doing in a political correct way. We won't get into that on this topic, but just a little detour on the cuss words. You're gonna hear them, and I want you to hear them. I want you to think about it different. Please think about it different. Think about it this way. There's nothing wrong with the word shit or fuck, okay? You might be thinking, third commandment, thou shalt not cuss. That's not a commandment. Third commandment, right down here. Okay, I got it tattooed on the arm for you, if you could see it. I hope you could see it. Third commandment is you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. That has nothing to do with cussing. It's a lot deeper than that. And so I'm not here to offend with the cuss words and on this channel. It's not about offending, but I want you to know that with the cuss words, they're with a purpose. Okay, it's just like everything else we talk about. There's a vision to this, and it's over time, as people are getting on board with some of these topics we discuss and people that we bring on the channel, to desensitize from the political correctness. If you say a cuss word, that shouldn't bother you. In fact, it shouldn't even bother showing your kids that, because they're seeing it online and you're just pretending, oh, we can't say damn it at the table, right? No, they're seeing it online. They're seeing way worse online, okay? Like the worst possible things you could ever imagine. And then they just know, oh, I can't say that in front of mom and dad. They do that with everything else too, okay? So they cuss behind the scenes. Everybody does everything behind the scenes that we're supposed to not do because of political correctness. And we're teaching this to the kids. And it starts, believe it or not, by saying, don't say a cuss word, little Timmy. Don't say damn it. Don't say fuck. In fact, I want you to say shoot or dag nabbit or oh darn it. It's like, why? What's the point of that? So anyways, a little ramble there, a little rant. So let's talk briefly as we're kind of coming to a close on this. This is another one to try to get just these initial videos up. I'm trying to get, I have no clue again what I'm doing with any of these, and I'm getting used to the camera angle, getting used to what type of content, what type of editing, what type of thumbnails, what type of all this bullshit that I don't even want to be fucking doing. But I'm trying to definitely get some exposure to this whole arena. Anyways, I hope this stuff helps. So all the cynical and the sarcasm and the cuss words, look past it, because there's going to be some fantastic content in here. So we summarized Bitcoin, right? A peer-to-peer electronic cash system is what it is. And you have the software itself, the Bitcoin protocol, which is literally just software like Microsoft Word, right? Or Windows 95, if you think back on, you put the disk in, right? Your computer ran that protocol. It's global, it's worldwide, that nobody controls it. And so why did Michael Saylor decide, being that he was, we'll do a little breakdown since I have him as the main guy that has the vision here, just to give you some of his vision, right? And this is super summary with this guy. So graduated MIT, and then in 1989 founded MicroStrategy, which is business intelligence software company and web analytics, cloud computing. I mean, again, it makes sense now that you realize that Bitcoin is a software protocol. So what happened was, this is just a sharp cat, and he ends up understanding, getting into investments and things like that. And in his early days, he talked shit about Bitcoin. He said it was going to go to zero. It's going to be, it's like online gambling. This was like back in 2013. Well, lo and behold, here we get into, this is 2013, then it was 2020 is when he started buying. This motherfucker is got the biggest balls in the room by far, because here's why he's the biggest visionary. I had to pick him first for Bitcoin as a ecosystem, right? This new asset class, this whole landscape, of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. He starts selling off shares. He starts taking money from MicroStrategy to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. investors, people that are investing in his company, right? He takes their money to buy Bitcoin and says, this is the vision of MicroStrategy now, which again, MicroStrategy was his software development company. He starts taking money from that and just buying a shit ton of Bitcoin. Bought his own Bitcoin. I don't know how much he has. Fast forward to today, this son of a bitch has 158,400 Bitcoin worth $7.3 billion. And I think his average buy-in price was like right around 30,000, and now Bitcoin's at 44. We're going to get into where it's going to go, price discovery and things like that in the future. But to keep with our theme, to keep with what we just wanted to, kind of bring up and get out on this video number 2, episode 2. So the idea is vision, purpose plus pursuit, right? You think of a guy like Michael Saylor, right? And first off, he was not trying to be in this arena. It's not like he was this guy that was looking for something to change the world. Because a lot of people in Bitcoin, they are followers the way many people are, the way I'm trying to teach you not to be. Because if you can have a purpose behind your pursuit, now you have a vision of your own, right? Instead of just following somebody else's vision or somebody else's pursuit. So Michael Saylor is this guy that it was not trying to go change the world with some new software peer-to-peer protocol, okay, for money. But he understood it. He understood, he did the research, read the white paper, started seeing what it was all about. Then with that MIT mind, he realized this is the way of the future, and just a quick summary here on why he may have thought this was a great idea. We're going to go super quick. So hopefully this is a summary that you can unpack on your own time. World War II happens, right? It finishes up. After that, we had a whole lot of fucking and a whole lot of good times, right? In America and around the world, but primarily in America. We were also the world's reserve currency at this point. After Bretton Woods, a lot of other things going on back then. Again, summary today. So you finish war, you have a family, you have some kids, you're having a great time, everything's going good, you have a shit ton of kids. Back then there was a lot more traditional values, so there's a lot more kids being born into households and things like that. Well, guess what those turned into? The baby boomers, right? Big boom, bunch of the population, demographics exploded back then. Fast forward to 1970s and 80s. 1971, Richard Nixon removed the dollar, US dollar, from the gold standard. It was not pegged to gold anymore as its reserve currency or as its reserve asset to give it some type of staple on its value. When they removed it from gold, it became monopoly money. This is true. It's backed by the credit. The dollar, the US dollar, is backed by the credit worthiness of the United States. So it has the most worthiness of any type of dollar that you're going to get, fiat, or a note representing value from something else. Used to be gold, now it's the credit worthiness of the United States. And if you're ever going to want to, rely on a country, it's going to be the U.S. It's going to be the United States. So it has value, but it's monopoly money in the sense that you can print it and you can remove supply all you want. They're the banker, baby. You better fucking believe it. 1971. So in the 70s and the 80s, any of you guys were out there, or if anybody doesn't know, those were very, trifling economic times, right? A lot of inflation. You guys hear about all those things. A lot of bad times. Well, by removing the dollar from the gold standard, and there was plenty of other things we could talk about, but just fast forward through that time, they were able to correct the difficulty of those baby boomers having so much production, and then I skipped. In the 50s, 60s, you had the sexual revolution and a lot of liberalism coming, right? Postmodern thinking, like we don't need all this traditional values, we don't need God, all that stuff. Well, guess what? That means a lot less kids, and even the kids that are coming are into broken homes. They're not really productive members of society the way the baby boomers were. So there was a demographic shrink in that time, not enough workload and production going on. So you have these economic crises because you have all this production that is slowing down, but there's no workers. This economy that is growing, and there's no workers to go continue the growth. The growth stopped. Well, from 71 up to 2008, it became a debt economy, right? We started printing and doing sovereign debt, like treasury notes and treasury bills. And so we just basically started lending a lot of stuff. So giving loans out, like mortgages and things like that. Our easy sum is like this. You don't go buy a car. You get a loan for a car or a mortgage for a house. You don't just go buy it cash, right? That's just a way to analogize. That was happening for much larger purchases around the world, from country to country and within our country. Now everything's debt instead of just an actual hard money currency, which we had debt before, but it just amplified because you could print all the money you wanted. You could create all the debt you wanted. There was no real anchor to that, which used to be gold. That was the problem from the 70s on up until 2008. We all know what happened in 08, 09-ish, is the great financial crisis, right? So you hit the great financial crisis, all that debt economy started coming to a head, and you started seeing things fail, right? You started seeing the issues that we had in real estate, and you started seeing that whole great recession hit because all that bubble, that debt came to a head, where at this point now the jig's up. We had to come and realize that there's nothing backing all these mortgage-backed securities. It's all a facade, and it just crashed. Boom. Banks get bailed out. Well, enter at this particular point, right? At this time, 08, 09, 2010, I forget the exact date, but right in that window between 08 and 2010, we start, what do we start? Quantitative easing and quantitative tightening. And, again, we're just supposed to be doing a summary right now, but really what that is central banks creating more lending capability to local banks. And it's also a way of central banks moving supply as far as currency into the market and moving it out into the market when they're doing quantitative easing and pulling it back when they're doing quantitative tightening, which we're doing right now. So they're offloading their balance sheet, or basically, when they're quantitative easing, they're putting money out by taking on debt. The central bank is saying, hey, I'll give you $100 million and then you're going to pay me back over 30 years or 10 years or whatever it may be. But here's $100 million out in the system. Right now they're saying, okay, now we want to sell these. So you're going to give me $100 million and I'm going to pay you back with some interest. But what happens is now that liquidity or that money out in the market comes back to us. That's quantitative tightening. Comes back into the central bank, which is where they're trying to reduce the money supply or the liquidity supply out there because we've had inflation, right? So with this QE, quantitative easing and tightening, it's, again, just the same old thing where they're creating money out of nowhere. The creditworthiness of the United States. That's why the national debt that you see, which isn't even the biggest one, is 34 trillion, right? And just a few years back, you were looking at it at like 20 trillion or, 24 trillion, just a few years back. And so with all this going on, right, has this all relate to Bitcoin? Tremendously. When did Bitcoin come out? 2009. What can you not do with Bitcoin? Manipulate the money system. You can't print it. You can't lend it in that sense. You can make a derivative and lend that derivative, but the core of it is sound money. It is sound, decentralized, mathematical protocol that cannot be manipulated. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be owned as far as like by a central bank. You can own it individually. It is essentially something that is going to put such a massive checks and balances on the global system, like the central banks of the world. Like, we're obviously the big dogs, but you have the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund right here in Washington, D.C. And they leverage this power of cash creation or debt creation and lending around the world. That's why when you see wars break out, you don't ever really see too much fear out of the United States because we own the money, motherfuckers. You're not going to do a whole lot because we'll just shut your money off. And nobody wants that. I mean, what's the point of winning a war when you've lost all monetary power? It's like, oh, okay, I've won a war, but I don't get to trade with the rest of the world because the United States shut me down. And if that's not enough, we'll just nuke your fucking ass. There's no stopping what the United States is right now. Talk about a hegemony. Talk about a control and a power that is a superpower, the United States. Because not only do we have the best military and the most military power and intelligence, in my opinion, that is an opinion, but the best intelligence, we are the reserve currency. So we'll leverage and control you with money. And if that doesn't work, then we'll just bomb your fucking ass. And I'm pro-America, hands down, all the way. No holds bar. But at the same time, there's always corrupt people in our country and in other countries, and they make stupid decisions. And as this monetary system continues to inflate, it will cause issues for third world countries and the poorer people in this country because there's just so much inflation. Excuse me. Then you have artificial intelligence coming out, which is going to also remove need for low IQ jobs. People that can't do critical thinking. They're not going to be needed anymore. You're going to have to be really ahead of the game to be able to keep up with things once AI comes in. Think about all these things. Well, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Actually, no, there's not. I mean, unless you were to go ahead and say God is in control and he's allowing these things to happen right now for a particular purpose. And that's where we come from, because we come from a revelational epistemological foundation in our understanding of these things, right? We know that God is sovereign. All things work out for good for those who love him. And this might sound like foreign language to you. And again, I'm just doing a summary today, but all of our content will be rooted in that. And we'll bring it to a full circle when the time comes. But you have to understand that America is so powerful right now that there's really no way. They could easily not shut Bitcoin down, but make it non-existent by owning it all or just banning it from this country. Or if anybody uses Bitcoin to trade, we'll just fucking bomb you. It's not about feelings or what you think about it. We will shut that shit down like that if we wanted to. It's not about, can Bitcoin just, be the next world's reserve currency? Fuck no, it can't become the next world's reserve currency. Bitcoin doesn't have a military. It's not doing shit. It's going to get controlled. What we would say is, oh, you want to run the Bitcoin? You want to have a bunch of Bitcoin computers that run Bitcoin? We'll just fucking bomb your fucking shit. And you're not going to hear about it on the news. It's just going to happen. You got to understand, you do not fight against the United States. There's no winning. And it doesn't matter what feelings are. It doesn't matter about political correctness. You could have a fucking impotent, half-dead motherfucker running the country, and it doesn't matter, because none of that's actually what is going on behind the scenes that makes this whole show stay on the road, baby. So, and I'm not trying to act like I know all those things. I just know enough to know that when I see somebody who doesn't hold a candle to some of the people that I've listened to in the financial and economic world. You listen to guys that are in finance, Raoul Paul, Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, even people I don't really much like, Jamie Dimon, Paul Tudor Jones. I mean, you have so many different people on there, what's his name with BlackRock, Larry Fink. I mean, I've listened to him talk. He's probably fucking the epitome of evil, probably behind the scenes, but he's extremely intellectual, composed, concise. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly how to present himself, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And talk about political correctness, he's perfectly politically correct. And he's the one that made everything happen with these ETFs. If it wasn't for BlackRock applying for an ETF, it would have never come. It would have never happened. And so what you have to understand, what is important to understand, is that Bitcoin is not a religion, though people treat it that way, and it's not going to save the world. It's not like, oh, God created Bitcoin to save the world. I've heard people say it already. It's retarded. There's a lot of great qualities about Bitcoin, and I think it's a very necessary protocol, because guess what happened? With these ETFs, we've basically got a marriage between the existing financial system, which is owned by the United States, let's just cut the shit, and this new ecosystem called cryptocurrency. Now that they've went ahead and merged them and give their stamp of approval saying, hey, all these big guys, all the big investment firms, they're in. Wall Street, NASDAQ, we're in, baby. We want Bitcoin exposure for all of our clients. It's not ever going anywhere, but these people have hundreds of trillions of dollars that they could invest. If you look at the whole Wall Street and financial system, it's like not even worth trying to understand how much is in there. But even just in these initial firms that came out and applied for these ETFs that are offering them to their clients, we're already talking about over $20 trillion AUM, assets under management. $20 trillion. Hard even, you probably couldn't even write the number, enough zeros out if you did it. I can't either. So the idea is they're going to own it all. You got to understand, they will own it all. They will own all the Bitcoin, all the Ethereum. They will own all of it. And there'll come a day where not only will they own it all, if you have any in self-custody, which you can do, you can own it in your own little private key, put it on a USB drive, put it in your safe, they'll take that shit from you. That's way down the road. And I also think that we have an opportunity right now to be able to use this protocol that helps with checks and balances on this debt economy that we're in, and pay attention, apply ourselves. We have to apply ourselves right now. We have to say, I'm not going to just be told what to do like a fucking mindless drone. Okay, I'm going to actually use my own brain, do some critical thinking, and actually come to the table and see how could I, there's this tool that is out there now. It's called Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It's helping us have a new way to not be so under such pressure with this debt economy that is making it so expensive. You know, homes, cars, everything. We've all seen the taste of what it's like when prices go up so much through various different things. I mean, we call it inflation, but inflation's just increasing the money supply. So the cost of your goods should not go up just because, we've increased the money supply. I mean, it of course it could, because supply and demand, but the idea behind this is it's manipulation of the money. It's not saying inflation is because somebody decided to start charging more, so we printed more money. It's the other way around. You print the money, and then all of a sudden the supply and demand causes the price to go up. In a normal world, the cost of things should be, the price should go down to the marginal cost of production. So when technology advances, AI, we should see costs come down. Prices should be always a direct relation to the marginal cost of production. Price should equal marginal cost of production. If that marginal cost of production goes down, which it does with technology for 90% of things, the cost should come down. Yet every year we'd be happy with 2%. See, we got major problems here. And we have a tool that helps combat that. We have a tool that helps say, no, you can't inflate this particular protocol. And it has a value because people are trading it. There's supply and demand for the unit of account called a Bitcoin. And this protocol cannot be devalued. It can't be manipulated. It can't be inflated based on central banking leverage and from time to time people being malicious, And so with, again, that next ramble, back to Michael Saylor, right? This motherfucker has the vision, right? What would you say his purpose is, right? And you could ask the guy, what's your purpose, right? And then what is your pursuit? Well, he's going to tell you his purpose is to buy more Bitcoin. And what is his pursuit? It is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. So what's his vision? His vision is to buy and hold Bitcoin. Now, I might be sounding overly simplistic. Look him up. He could say nothing else. This is a person that has found his vision, which is, I see something that is the only true form of digital energy, money, hard money. It's going to be worth unreal amount in the future. And he decided that his purpose and his pursuit is to buy and hold Bitcoin, no matter what happens. You don't sell, he just buys and holds, buy, hold. And you'll listen to his interviews. You'll realize there's so many other people, myself included. I'm selling some of that shit. I'm trying to build a different, development that is going to kind of be something that shows you who God is, what he said, and what he's done. I'm going to build that. You're going to see it. But at the same time, that's my vision, right? What's Michael Saylor's vision? Buy and hold Bitcoin. I mean, I'm sure there's some shit behind the scenes that he's working on. You ask him. He's just buying, and it doesn't matter about nothing else. Buy Bitcoin. Shut the fuck up. Don't complicate it. Just buy it and don't sell it. You don't buy it, you don't sell it. And he'll go through a bunch of different analogies on how everything goes to zero compared to Bitcoin and all these other things. And this is why he's the biggest visionary of Bitcoin, because if I've encouraged you at all to get into the space, welcome to fucking hell, motherfucker. Because this shit just, all it does is get fucking more psychotic from here. If it sounded like my rambling fucking who the fuck knows what I'm even talking about right now, I went on like 6 tangents on this whole video, right? I'm one guy. Wait till you start getting into the space. You're going to be like, what the fuck is everybody fucking talking about? What is all this decentralized autonomous organization? What's a smart contract? What's an NFT? What's a fucking blockchain? What the fuck? Who are these people? And you're just like looking at it like, this is too complicated for me. I don't want nothing to do with it. Welcome to fucking hell. Because if you don't deal with it, you're going to live in hell, because you're going to be controlled by not somebody fucking coming in here and trying to be Hitler on you. You're just going to get controlled because you ain't going to have no fucking money. That's all there is to it. Money itself is a leverage point. It's a way to manipulate you, right? My definition for money is human emotion in trade. We'll get into that for another topic. But human emotion in trade. There's a lot of different ways you can look at money. I didn't say gold, I didn't say assets. Just the idea of money, right? Trade. We're trading things. Money's been many different things in the past. It's many different things in the future. It's digital, it's credit cards, it's cash, it's fucking seashells, it's gold. What the fuck? It's cattle, right? And so, these things, it's human emotion in trade though, because we wouldn't be doing any of this if we didn't have these emotions. Sometimes it's ambition, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's hate, sometimes it's lust for power. It's always an emotion that drives this idea to trade things to get what you want. It's human emotion in trade is what it is. But if you're thinking like that, human emotion and trade, Bitcoin's the only honest thing that you can use to trade in the future. Again, like I said, Michael Saylor is the one who he won't deviate. And when you're in the middle of it and you're starting to get in your own head, like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a revolution. I think everybody needs to buy Bitcoin. This is the most incredible thing ever. Oh my gosh. And the more you go down the rabbit hole, the more you learn. And the more you learn about macroeconomics, even just a tertiary, like a not a first or secondary, like comprehensive understanding, but just this surface level tertiary understanding of it, like, oh, okay, we're just talking about economics of the world and simple, just thinking of how things go, do a little bit of research on it, you start realizing like, oh man, I'm nervous about this. Like, what if it does go to zero, right? I used to think that all the time. I've been in it in almost 6 years, 6.5 years. And it's at the time, it's like, I'm thinking I'm going nuts. I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm just retarded. You'll listen to a bunch of things and you're like, oh, this is fucking great. I need to share this with the world. You start getting all excited. And then the next day, see the price go down and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to fucking lose everything. Why didn't I buy a fucking house? Fuck, shit, fuck. Then you Michael Saylor every fucking time, right? Once again, there's no second best. There's just Bitcoin. You just buy Bitcoin. And then you pull up your Twitter and you're like, this motherfucker just bought another $50 billion or $50 million worth of Bitcoin. I'm telling you, it's the most inspirational thing ever when you're just like, you wake up in the morning, you start questioning your whole entire life. Who are you? Why are you here? Why have you fucked everything else up? And you're just like in shambles, right? Just, oh no, everything's bad. It's not every morning, but for me, it's a good 9.5 out of 10 mornings. But so then you see this little thing from Michael Saylor and he's like, little fucking laser eyes coming out, a little electricity coming out of his eyes. Just buy some more Bitcoin, motherfuckers, buying whole, bitch. And you're like, that's what I'm fucking talking about. He's buying that shit. I'm buying that shit. It's like watching fucking 300. This is Sparta shit, So when I get my shit together and I learn how to do memes and put some video editing into this stuff, which we might have some on this one, I have no fucking clue. We're gonna start having some of that stuff in here, some memes, some Michael Saylor shit. If we're talking on Bitcoin or if we're talking macroeconomics or whatever we may be talking about, we're gonna try to make this interesting and something that keeps you entertained. Hopefully, you become entertained and. Trying to think of just a bunch of stupid cliches that you're going to notice. I'm going to have a lot of jokes on movies, by the way. So hopefully you like movies as you're watching these things. Outside of that, I think we're done with our video here. I just want to tell you guys that these are going to keep coming. This one is probably more like a mid, when we do the long form. I mean, it might be me doing a long talk about something, but I'd prefer to have somebody else to speak with. I think it's a little bit more interesting when you have, doesn't have to be a debate, but two people having a discussion about a subject. So we'll probably do that to where it's a little bit more engaging, because sometimes I start even forgetting about what I'm even fucking talking about. And we'll find out. But the idea behind this, and I want to leave you with this, is just remember, all these topics are going to be complicated. They're all going to require a purpose to looking at it with defining your purpose. They're always a pursuit. Right now the pursuit is to learn Bitcoin or to learn about cryptocurrency or to buy it or whatever it is. What's the purpose? Hopefully I gave you a purpose today. And the vision, that's something you got to come up with. You got to define your own purpose and pursuit and define that vision, And once you see that, then you'll have conviction, right? You'll have a conviction of what you want to do, who you want to talk to, how it's going to work. When you start having that conviction, look me motherfucking up, because that's all I got going on right now. I'm feeling as if my convictions and pursuits are so different from everybody else's, including everything, including the Christian church, everybody. I'm fucking black sheep, fucking dark horse Christianity coming on. And I don't mean that in any way am I down on the gospel, the church, or anything like that. Those are, it's a blessing for me to even know God and to be a part of this growing his kingdom. But there's a lot of corruption in that area and a lot of culty bullshit on both sides, on Bitcoin and the church. So you'll see my vision. You'll see some conviction when you come and get a chance to chit chat with me, and you're going to find that on this channel too. So tune in again, and we look forward to seeing you on some of the next ones.